Well, my name is Mike Roy. I originally grew up in Golden, Colorado. So I don't know how I ended up where I ended up today, but it was a series of, I think, fortunate accidents. When I think about design thinking and maybe advice for those who are trying to either inspire others to embrace this way of working or trying to build this as a capability or skill, I think one of the things that I think about most is how you get design teams broadly defined. So not necessarily just folks wearing turtlenecks and sort of fancy glasses, but if you're trying to get people to embrace design methods as a way of working, I think a lot of the things you hear people say is they talk about a shared language. I think that's one of the things that has been like a common theme here at this conference is people need a shared language. And I think when I think about that, I think about shorthand and slang. And I think if you think about teams when they are both doing well and are excited and sort of celebrating each other, but also I think more importantly, maybe what we overlook a lot is struggling. So when projects aren't going well, when we're trying to figure out how to get unstuck, teams rely often on the things that they sort of say to each other in language that they use to work through those good and bad times. And I think to the extent that you can make design methodologies and design techniques part of that slang and that sort of shorthand for what do we do, both in good and bad times, I think that is what I think is actually like key to adoption. So it's really about how do you teach people techniques that they can refer to both in good and bad times. I hope that's making sense. But it's really about like creating a shared way to discuss like what to do, and to the extent that you can make those structured design thinking activities rather than maybe just disgruntled side conversations that sort of like are kicking the can down the road and aren't really proactively figuring out how to solve a problem. So I think it's really about figuring out how you can take structured design techniques and weave them into the way you actually speak to each other, so that when you are talking about problems and you're talking about solutions and talking about ideas, you actually are sort of benefiting from really structured, powerful design tools. And I think it's really about moving from complaining about what's wrong to productively advancing solutions and creating better conversations about how to bring others in rather than just talking about one person's path or one person's idea. It's about figuring out how can you create a conversational structure to sort of tap into the power of everyone else besides yourself is, I think, the power of this.